we're going, we don't need roads.
Mr. Englund, good to see you again, sir. How are you?
Good to see you. Where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
I know that, but where?
I'm in my studio. So I'm in the Loop. That's Michigan Avenue. So Michigan and Lake.
I love that town. I'm coming this summer, and I've got to get my list of the Steppenwolf summer.
Yes.
plays.
Oh my God.
I'm going to try to come stay at my favorite hotel and eat at my favorite Italian restaurant, and then maybe go see a play at Steppenwolf.
Well, I don't know how long you're going to be here, but depending on how long, I would love to take you out to dinner, sir. So if you're in and you want a free meal, it would be on me. It would be my honor. But seriously, sir, it is so good to see you again. Seriously, thank you for your time. I'm going to jump into this because I got 1,000 questions for you. When we first meet Victor, there's that really great close-up of him scratching his nails on the desk in his cell, and you can kind of tell that the linoleum desktop has been worn away. He's been doing it for a long time. Did you guys I'm assuming that that's a great, really subtle Freddy reference. Did you have conversations in advance of like how to do it in a really nice, tasteful way without it being too over the top?
No, I'll tell you. And I didn't even pick up on that at the time. I know that the dialogue just prior to that is he's in a good mood today. Victor, by the warden or the guard. And I know that my second line is a shouted line that comes out of nowhere. And Sean Levy was insistent that I do this scratching piece of business. And it kind of threw me a little bit because it's hard to do because I had to cover the pre-existing scratches to sell it, and just curl my fingers to reveal the scratches in the sort of school desk that Victor's sitting at in his cell. And I realized it later. It came to me that what he was doing, and Sean's so brilliant. If you've seen Free Guy, you know what I mean. Talk about degree of difficulty. But Sean's so brilliant that he knew that by doing that, we got over the Freddy thing, the Freddy apprehension. And now I could be Victor Creel. We've done our homage. We've done our wink and our kiss to the audience. And now we could get on with it. Even though in season 4, there are a lot of Easter eggs of Nightmare on Elm Street, but there's a lot of other ones. There's Amityville Horror and Goonies and lots of other stuff. But by doing that, because Victor's not really anything to do with the Nightmare on Elm Street references in season 4. And I had to audition. So I believe I earned the role. And I'm Robert Englund, the actor who played Freddy Krueger in makeup again. But that's more of an 80s nod than it is a Freddy Krueger nod. And so I thought that may be one reason why I'm here, to fulfill that, because they've done that with casting over the years on Stranger Things. But there was no Freddy Krueger thing with Victor. So I think by doing that little scratch with the fingernails was Sean's way of now winking to the audience, and now we can get on with it.
Well, speaking of that, what I love, though, is that we're going down this long hall of cells. You're the last one on the left. It has sort of a dark and brick kind of look to it. I got to say, to me, less so Freddy, and I feel like you kind of got a Hannibal Lecter moment. And I was sort of, do you feel like you actually got like not, I want to say forget Freddy because Freddy's in my heart, but like, do you feel like you got a Hannibal moment in a way?
That homage right there, that shot with the guard and his billy club on the bars, that's and his what he's telling them to do is right Silence of the Lambs. And that the audience has that in their collective consciousness. And then it's me, and I can get that first scare or two off before I become pathetic and perhaps even sympathetic and tell the backstory, which also illuminates what happened to my son, which is going to pay off major in terms of plot and mythology.
What you do with that monologue is fantastic. But Freddy Krueger is name dropped in this season. I think there's a moment they walk in the video store and there's a cardboard cutout of him, which means that Robert Englund is out there somewhere in the Stranger Things universe, do you think anyone ever looks at Victor and goes, you know, he kind of looks like the actor who plays Freddy Krueger?
I hope not. I let the hair girls, the hairdressers, spend an inordinate amount of time getting my hair to really look long and different. That's my hair all coming forward, and it's got like 20 years of jailhouse grease in it, so because we really wanted him to look different, and I brought the beard because that changes my face a lot too. And we played him a lot in and out of shadow, which is nice because every time I catch light in my deformed eyes, it's a scare whether I want it or not.
Good.
Yeah, because they're almost the wounds are almost still suppurating, the way that the brilliant Barry Gower and Duncan Jarman, the great special effects makeup guys. They're the ones that created the Night King in Game of Thrones. Yeah. So they really had my back.
I want to talk about the makeup process. The first time you and I ever met, sir, I actually got to sit with you while you underwent the Freddy makeup process in Rosemont to save
flashback.
Flashback weekend. That's right. That was the first time, which was like the 3 of the best hours of my life. You gave me your glove after, which is framed on my wall, actually. I'm sort of curious how much, you've seen the makeup process over the last 4 decades. How did it compare in the early 80s to now? Is it as detailed and take as much time, or is it apples and oranges?
They have some really terrific new technology with special effects makeup. But you have to understand now that a lot of what you see now is CGI. They do CGI makeup. You've seen how they can make people older and younger. That's all CGI. And what I like is when they blend the two. I think that's really the most successful. And I've worked with guys that maybe will design half of a face for the special effect makeup, and they will save money. They will leave this part undone because that's going to be a CGI bullet wound or something, or disfigurement. And they're saving money, but they're also blending the practical with the CGI. Because when you do it all that way, and even on a period film, if everything on this street is not there and it's period, in the back of your mind, it's not real, and it starts to look like a cartoon, it starts to look animated. But when they go to an old town in Italy or an old town in England, and maybe they just erase some telephone poles or take out a contemporary skyscraper in the background and just leave the old one-story buildings in the foreground and enhance them a little bit, that always seems to work better for me than if it's all just animated, all Absolutely. CGI. Yeah. And it's the same thing with the new makeup. They're doing some miraculous things. Don't get me wrong. And I love it, especially with creatures. And you can see it on Stranger Things. Just incredible. But I also like that blend. I like when they blend it a little bit.
It's honestly, it's flawless because you can't tell the difference. I feel like the second that I saw Victor in this cell, I realized that honestly, I kind of wanted a full mini series of him over the last 20 years. You mentioned that a lot of his story was told in your beard and the hair. I'm sort of curious, how much do you think about Victor's time, those decades, what it was like for it? Is that something that you have to, whether we hear about it or not, do you have to figure out for yourself what his time in that cell was like?
Well, I think Victor's been gone since he cut his eyes. Mm-hmm. And we can discuss that academically. Was he blind? Was he in denial about Henry, his son, being the source, being Vecna, being that not 11, but 1?
Yeah.
001. Not 007, 001. Was he blind to that because he loved his boy, he loved his son, his beautiful boy, his firstborn, his man-child, his boy child, where the wife maybe picked up on it more, and he punishing himself, he's blinding himself because he was blind to that? Or is he blinding himself because he was oblivious? And he's carried this incredible guilt because, whether it's a guilt of denial or whether it's just guilt that he didn't see how evil his son was or growing. So I think he's just stewed in those juices of remorse for the last years. And I don't think there's any vindicating him, because he's also stewing. What did his son do to him? His son reminded him and prevented him from saving the daughter, the sister, because he was reminded of his sin in World War II, where he called in a shelling of a farmhouse where he thought soldiers were in, and he killed a family, an innocent family, and a baby, a child in a crib. So he's haunted by that. We saw him haunted by it even as a brief flashback in the home, in front of his fireplace, let alone his flashback to World War II and to France. So he's a torn up, damaged man. However, there's this great line. Vecna has this line of dialogue where Vecna's talking, and we're looking at the underworld, the upside down, and it's like a weird Salvador Dali nightmare. And Vecna says something about old Victor. Yeah, I forgot about him. I've left him alone for a while. I've been too busy. Or he says something like that. And he says, maybe I'll visit him someday. I don't know. I don't know whether Henry needs to come back and punish me, or feels he should come back and punish me, or that I deserve, or if I'm not punished enough. I don't know. But there was that was strange to me that Vecna took time to say that,
I love that line. I'm going to cut you loose on this because
is that another residual? That's what I want.
Hey, I'd be down for it. I would contribute. As we wrap up, I am part of the generation who discovered Freddy by my sister giving me the VHS tapes. I'm a bit too young to have been able to see him in theaters when they were released. So I feel like I was the first generation that Freddy was handed down to. I'm sort of curious, how are you hearing that kids today are discovering Freddy and the Nightmare films? Because it's a completely different age than how I did it.
I think a lot of them found him on Halloween marathons, on cable. And a lot of them got turned on to it by an uncle or a dad. We're going to see the movie. When I was a kid, this was the movie that scared me, Junior. So a lot of them get introduced to it that way, which is, I think is kind of fun, because I'm doing that with my niece and nephew now. I'm showing them, movies that I loved and that we think are important. But I think also that you see an actor that you like in something else, and you deep dive, or you go to the horror site on Apple TV or on Prime Video or on Netflix or on demand, and you go there and you look through them and you watch the trailers, and then you realize, oh my God, there's 8 Nightmare on Elm Street movies. There's more Halloweens than I thought. There's a third Alien I didn't realize, and you find these movies, and you're looking up Lance Hendrickson, or you're looking up Jamie Lee Curtis, or you're looking up Sigourney Weaver. You're finding other stuff they do. That happens. That happens too. People find my little independent movies or horror movies I've done in Europe, things like that as well, and old TV series even. And so I think that one of the great gifts of the internet, especially for an actor's career and a director's career and a writer's career, is that talent will out, and people are constantly rediscovering cool stuff.
Yeah, I love it so much. Mr. Englund, I just want to end by saying thank you, sir. Like I said, the first time we spoke, I got to sit with you in the makeup. You gave me your glove. It's framed on my wall. The last time we spoke was part of a special I did where I spoke with you and Nick Castle and Doug Bradley and Tony
Doug.
Todd. And it actually, that piece, our interview, actually won me an Emmy, because it's just like it was a love letter to you and your work and everything. I grew up on these movies, so I want to say thank you for being such a big part of my life. It really is an honor to every time I get to speak with you. It's always an honor, sir.
Thank you, and go have some Chicago pizza for me.
I would love to. Let me know when you're in town. I'd love to take you out. All right. Take care, sir.
Bye.
Bye, guy.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.